Let's talk about making coffee outdoors. A couple of years ago, I got into making fresh coffee at home. It's a hobby I really enjoy, but I found it difficult to take that out on the trails, and the equipment is heavy, it's bulky, so I've spent some time searching for on-trail options for making coffee. So this series is going to cover brewers, and it's going to cover coffee making equipment, but for this first episode we're doing something a bit different. We're going to be looking at two coffee options which have been developed specifically for the outdoors. I've just spilt some of my drink. For this series we are going to be scoring each of the different brewing methods and coffees that we try on three different scales. One is taste, obviously. Two is overall experience. And number three is kind of weight and packability. It's no normal coffee in a tube. So yeah, very strange. It's like a paste, and supposedly it should taste like fresh coffee. It's a different way of doing instant. We're going to give it a go. Well, it's precariously balanced, but we've managed to get the stove working despite me forgetting some of the parts of it. I'm going to go for a quick swim while this is boiling, and when I come back and have a nice cup of coffee, and you can enjoy the sound of the dog walkers that have joined me on the beach this morning. So we're often told that there's health benefits from cold swimming, from getting that cold shock to the system to get the heart rate going, and it certainly does that. The other thing that is though is blinking cold. So this coffee is going to be very welcome no matter what it tastes like. Okay, no normal coffee. Let's see what you got. That is like black ooze treacle. Yummy. Here we go. I think this is still going to be too hot, but I am cold, so we'll give it a sip. Oh, you can tell you can tell straight away that that is sweetened. So one of the unusual things about this coffee is that it has sweetened pasteurized preparation for hot drink. So it's got some sweetener in there of some kind, some sugar in it. You kind of don't really get the choice. It is labeled as a dark roast. It is thoroughly not bad. Like, there's no unpleasantness, but it also isn't anything interesting. I am pleasantly surprised by this coffee. Like, there isn't a much going on. It's just a kind of this is the worst descriptor ever, but it's a general coffeeness. It is sweetened, and it feels like, you know, when you put milk and coffee in it and it takes back some of the bitterness, but you lose complexity. It feels like that. If I wasn't looking at this and seeing it was a black coffee, I'd be thinking there was milk in there, because it's got that sweetness, it's got that blocking of bitterness, but just not a lot else. This is kind of better. It's up one from instant. It's definitely better than instant, but it's just not that interesting. So let's give it some scores. It comes in a 100 gram tube, and obviously you've got no option to, I guess you could squeeze a bit of this out into a little pouch, but that would be strange. So it doesn't, if you're going on a trip that's long enough to use one of these up, then it's great weight wise. Otherwise, not so much. That is a 5. Let's talk about overall experience. Honestly, there is no experience there. The coffee is meh, the making it is nothing, so really doesn't feature on experience. I've forgotten what the other categories are. Weight, you're doing great, that's 5. Experience is nothing, did not complete. Oh, taste, yeah. Yeah, I've described it. If you like a milk drink, if you like a milk in your coffee, this will probably work quite well for you. If you like black coffee, you like the complexity of those flavors, then this is not delivering. It's not offensive, but it's not great. So we're going to give it a 3. I've now finished that cup of no normal coffee, and I've got to come back and say, having experienced the whole cup, and you know, as it cools and you taste a bit more, the thing that was really coming through the most was the sweetener. And yeah, there was no character to the coffee at all. It was just the sweetener. So if you like sweetened coffee, it will be fine. If you want something more out of your coffee, it's not so much there. I want to talk a little bit, actually, before I move on to the next coffee, about the way that I'm scoring and stuff. Like, I want to be fair and I want to be kind, because I recognize that my tastes in coffee are not everyone's tastes in coffee. So if I say a coffee is bad, what I mean is it's not to my taste, and I'm using the wrong kind of language. These are all really interesting coffees. No normal coffee. I love that there's someone in this space trying something different and original. So all this is to preface my taste of the Valley and Peak coffee, which I tried out a couple of weeks ago when I was camping, and you're about to see my review. I need to caveat the whole thing with the fact that, just like today, I got in the sea, I got really cold so that I could have this coffee in kind of realistic conditions for when I would have coffee on trail. I tried the Valley and Peak coffee when I had just woken up, and apparently I was grumpy that day because I think I was meaner to it than I should have been. So this is a huge caveat to go, I don't mean to be mean. Good morning. You can probably tell that I've just woken up in my tent here. Valley and Peak's coffee bag. This is quite a new release. Here's what it looks like, and you essentially treat it like a tea bag. So you stick it in your hot water, let it infuse for a few minutes, and then supposedly you'll have a delicious cup of coffee. So the trip that I've taken this on is it's been really lovely, but I did forget my spoon, so I'm gonna have to stir it with a tent peg. So it goes, and we are almost at boiling point. So whilst our coffee hangs out in the water and gets brewing, let's have a look at the packet here. There's no roast date. Best before end September 2026. That's 2 years away, so potentially not going to be the freshest coffee in the world. And the coffee is proudly supplied by Contact Coffee Co. When I conceived of doing this coffee series and trying out different outdoor coffees, I was imagining doing it in quite an aesthetic way, like being out in nature making a coffee, but actually I woke up this morning in the tent and really needed a coffee to just warm me up. So I gave up on the idea of going outside and thought I'm just going to do it in the tent, because that's more realistic. That's how many of us will be making our morning coffees. It's cool enough now. Very tea-like. Not a lot of body to this at all. And I had it hanging out in there for a good amount of time. Really squeezed it out, followed the instructions to the letter in terms of steep time and stuff, but it still will come out very tea-like.
which, if that's how you like your coffee, have at it. In terms of flavour, there's not a lot there. This is a coffee that's been roasted to such a point where its flavour is predictable. So for taste, should we do these out of 5? I guess let's call it a 2.5. 2.5, right in the middle. It's not egregious, but it's nothing to write home about. I don't know, actually. I may lower that. Dare I score it that low? I think it's not bad, it's just not good. And sorry, Contact Coffee and Valley and Peak, you've not really managed it with this one. I mean, huge props for coming up with a nice convenient package, something that's going to be really good if you're conscious of your weight, if you're conscious of just having a convenient coffee experience in the morning. But I guess that's what it is. It's convenient, but it's not much of an experience. I've noticed something else about this coffee. It's not very clean taste, and actually there's quite a few fines in this. I'd imagined, by being a coffee bag, that it would have quite a clean profile to it. But actually it's quite a lot like a French press, which is odd, don't you think? Maybe it's because of being in a bag and the way it's travelled. Maybe that's broken down the grounds a bit more and produced more fines. Maybe it just wasn't ground brilliantly in the first place. I don't know. But yeah, imagine making a French press with cheap coffee. That's kind of where we are.
How can I explain this love if that is what I'm called to do? How can I explain?
I've now officially been on the beach too long talking about coffee. It's after 9 o'clock and I'm supposed to be at work.